The shiur is dedicated Leilu Nishmas Rachaleya Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi. You have in front of you a series of Xerox papers that relate to, again, one of the most beautiful of the Prakim Tehillim, Mizmor Chav Beis. A Mizmor which is not as well known as it should be, but certainly a very significant Mizmor, and one that Chazal see as having reference to Purim, which of course we recently celebrated. Chazal see in this Mizmor, beginning Lamatzeach Aliyas HaShachar, references to Esther Hamelech and to the tefillah that was recited by Esther Hamelech when she went to the throne room of Ahasuerus. And we will see, when we examine the tefillah more specifically, we will see very specific references that Chazal, both in the Medrash and the Gemara and Masechus Megillah, had vis-a-vis this specific tefillah, and is certainly one of the most beautiful of all the tefillos that we find in Sefer Tehillim. What we're going to do is, first we will examine the Mizmor the way we are wont to examine the Mizmorim, first the nuts and bolts of the Mizmor, going through it in a very gentle kind of way, and then more specifically we'll examine some of the pratim of this particular Mizmor. And we will examine the Mizmor obviously in light of the sheets in front of you, and the Mizmor can be divided, as we'll see, in a number of ways. Either the Mizmor can be divided into two, which is the first schemata that you have in front of you, or when one wants to be more mefaret, we can divide the Mizmor, as you can see from the second schemata. Here we have 6 different segments of the Mizmor, and it's a more particularistic kind of breakdown of the Mizmor, which gives us a better handle on the Mizmor as a whole as well. So first we'll be examining, as I said, the Mizmor from a general kind of standpoint, and then we will be involved in the examination of the Mizmor in a more specific kind of way. So let's begin by just referring to the nuts and bolts of this particular Mizmor, which will give us, of course, a better handle on the minutiae of this particular Mizmor. The Mizmor begins, Lamatzeach al Yelas HaShachar Mizmor b'David. Mizmor tells us, refers to Yelas HaShachar, and here we have a machlokes actually among the Rishonim, what Yelas HaShachar refers to. Rashi on the spot understands that Yelas HaShachar, says Rashi, Shem klal shiur. Rashi understands it as referring to some sort of a musical instrument, and Rashi not only brings this explanation, but Rashi prefers and actually refers to another explanation. Davar acher al knesset Yisrael, she'ayeles ahovim, hanishkofo k'moi shochar. Rashi refers to a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Yelas HaShachar is a reference to klal Yisrael, to the Knesset Yisrael, which is compared by Shlomo HaMelech in Shir Hashirim to a kind of beloved deer, and that beloved deer looks forth like the dawn, like the shachar. Rashi continues, V'Rabosenu darshu be'Esther. Chazal understand this as referring to Esther Hamelech. And Rashi provides, as I said, a number of explanations, but the Gemara says in Yuma Daf Chavtesim and Al, a famous Gemara, Ma Yelas HaShachar Sof HaLayla, Af Esther Sof Kol HaNisim. The Gemara says, just as the morning star appears at the end of the night, so too Esther represents Sof HaNisim. Esther essentially represents the final Nes that's recorded in Tanakh, and to a certain extent, as we know, Megillas Esther represents the beginning of a period of Hester Panim, a period where Klal Yisrael no longer Nevi'im, who are able to directly communicate with Hashem Yisbarach, and now we enter a period where we don't have this kind of direct communication, but we have to rely on other types of connectedness with Ribono Shel Olam through great tzaddikim, through Gedolei Yisrael, such as Mordechai and Esther, who represented that bonding with Hashem Yisbarach. So the Mizmor begins, Lamatzeach al Yolos HaShachar Mizmor LeDavid. And then we have the famous words that Chazal indicate to us were uttered by Esther HaMalka on her way to the throne room. In Pasuk Beis, Keli, Keli, Lama Azabtoni. She said to Hashem